How did the skiers in Dyatlov Pass die? Is it possible that an unseen assailant murdered 4 of them and chased the others into the cold to die of weather? Was the whole thing just an elaborate hoax? Stick around and you might find out the answers to these questions on this episode of Unsolved Mysteries Solved. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. It is Thursday once again, the most mysterious day of the week. And you know what that means. We're going to be solving another mystery. With me today is a couple of really good friends of mine. Used to be in a band with these guys called Project Revolution until they kicked me out because they were jealous of my talent.
Pretty much.
Yep, there we go. Mr. I almost said Jake Logan. The Jake and Logan show. Logan Loffer and Jake Erne. Guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell the listeners a bit about what you guys do.
I'm Logan. I play guitar. Like to take long walks on the beach, and love to sleep. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm Jake. I play guitar, and I'm pretty much Logan's little bitch.
I can attest to that. Do you guys know anything about the Dyatlov Pass incident?
No.
A little.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess let's just go ahead and jump right in here.
I know they were hikers, and I am an avid hiker, so.
I've known you my entire life, and I've never once seen you hike, so I'm going to call bullshit on that one.
You don't know everything about me.
Okay.
Is that the other Logan?
Said the other Logan. So in 1959, Igor Dyatlov is a 23-year-old engineering student at the Ural Polytechnical Institute. That's in Russia, as you'll see, because I'm about to start listing off a bunch of Russian names that I don't know how to pronounce.
Can you do it in Russian accent?
Probably could.
That's the only way I can understand it.
But the thing is, we kind of want to keep listeners, and I don't want to offend anybody any more than I'm going to when I butcher these names. Where was I? So this guy, Igor, put together a skiing trip with 9 of his fellow classmates. And the group consisted of Igor himself, and then Yuri Doroshenko, Lyudmila Dubinina, Georgy Krivanashenko, Alexander Kolovatov, Zenaida Kolmogorova, Rustam Slobodin, Nikolai Fibognolis, Semyon Zolotaryov, and Yuri Yudin. Now, why did I just list off all those people? I wanted to demonstrate that I don't know how to pronounce Russian names. But little did any of these people know that for all but one of them, this was going to be the last ski trip they would ever take. Bum, bum, bum. I probably should have just put in, I'll do it here. Instead of making the noise with my mouth.
Dumbass.
The group arrived by train in Ivdel in the early morning of January 25th. You look like you got something to say. And I swear to God, if it's poopy butthole or balls, pee-pee.
No, I was gonna say insert here.
That's what she said.
Insert what here?
Well, when you said I'll put that in later.
Oh.
Insert here.
So yeah, they arrived at Ivdel in the early morning of January 25th, and then they took a truck to Vizhai, which is a little village that is the last inhabited settlement to the north before you get into the Ural Mountains. They bought loaves of bread that night to keep up their energy for the hike for the next day. Spent the night in town, and then the next morning they started up the mountain. Now, a day later, Yuri Yudin, the last guy that I mentioned, he suffered from several health issues, and he had to turn back due to aches and pains in his joints that were keeping him from being able to continue.
You just went like this, and I thought you were pointing in the genital area. And
I did this, thanks. I was pointing at my knees. God, I knew this was a bad idea. But he had to turn back, and this turned out to save his life. And due to diaries and cameras that they had with them and pictures that they took, Investigators were later able to follow the group's trek leading up to the incident that we were talking about. So, due to worsening weather conditions, the group lost their direction and wound up about a little west of where they were meant to go. And they decided to set up camp rather than travel the 1.5 kilometers back down to the wooded area that would have helped shelter them from the bad weather, which I don't understand. Like, I guess Yuri, the guy that turned back, later said that knowing Igor, he probably just wanted to prove that he knew what he was doing.
Well, I was going to say, wasn't he an avid hiker?
Oh, yeah, he was very experienced. But at the same time, you know that this bad weather's coming. You can't turn around and go 1.5 kilometers, which is like not even a mile, back down to where the woods are going to save you.
Well, you know, he's an avid hiker, wants to show off his skills, and why not be a...
There were women in this group, so he was probably...
Yeah, he wanted to go and, you know...
That might sound like somebody else I know wanting to show off.
Chad?
Brent?
Could be Brent.
Jaden?
Could be Brent.
Jake?
Maybe Steve.
Scuba Steve.
Why does she have a shirt that says I'm here for Steve? Just, listeners, in case I put this in, so in the band, Jake's 16-year-old, is he 16 or is he 17 now?
He just turned 17.
17-year-old son is our drummer, and his girlfriend used to show up to our gigs wearing a shirt that said, I'm here for Steve, and nobody in the band is named Steve.
It all started with, we were here at practice one night, and Brent, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, Brent, our bass player, was sitting over there, and I don't remember what he said, but he said something, and it sounded just like Adam Sandler, and I was like, dude, you got to do that again, but do it in the Scuba Steve voice, and he did it, and ever since then, he's been Scuba Steve.
That doesn't explain why Jaden's girlfriend wears a shirt that says I'm here for Steve.
It was a joke.
Oh, is she aware of the joke?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, every time I've asked her about it, she's like, well, it's what I call Jaden.
No, I don't think we need to talk about that right now.
Now, before the expedition, Igor had agreed that for safety's sake, they would send a telegram from Vizhai where they had spent the night when they got back. And it was expected that this would happen on or around February 12th, but Igor told Yuri that he expected it to be a little longer when Yuri turned back. So when the 12th came and went with no message, nobody thought anything of it. And on the 20th, a little over a week later, the travelers' relatives began demanding a search and rescue. So the Institute sent out volunteers to help search, and the military eventually got involved with helicopters and planes. On February 26th, a full month later, Jesus Christ, the searchers found the group's abandoned and badly damaged tent on Kholat Syakhl, which is like one of the faces of the mountain, I guess, or a pass or something. Later became known as Dyatlov Pass because of this incident. The campsite baffled the search party, and I'm going to tell you why. Next time on... no, I'm kidding. Mikhail Sharavin, who was a student that was helping search. That's the one. He said that the tent was half torn down and covered with snow, but he probably said something more like, the tent was torn down and half covered with snow. Except he actually probably said it in Russian because he's Russian. And I don't know how to say that in Russian. So instead, he said, the tent was half torn down and covered with snow. It was empty, and all the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind. Now, investigators said that the tent had been cut open from the inside, and 8 or 9 sets of footprints were left by people who were wearing only socks or a single shoe. That is the correct face to be making right now. Jake's got this look on his face like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? They were wearing only socks or maybe a single shoe. Some were even barefoot. But they followed these footprints, and they led down towards the edge of a nearby wood on the other side of the pass. And after about 500 meters, 1,600 feet, the tracks became covered with snow. Now, at the forest edge, there was a large Siberian pine, and the searchers found visible remains of a small fire. How is my thing? Because they didn't take anything with them. Everything's covered in snow, so it's going to be wet. How the F did they start a fire? I don't know why I said F and then like I bleep out the so.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like did they just by sheer force of will and their own body heat?
Oh, they probably prayed to the gods and, the god of fire, whoever that is, and, said...
It depends on what mythology you're talking about.
Well, I didn't major in mythology, so I majored in bullshitting, so...
I didn't either. I majored in theater, and then I was like, I'm never going to do anything with this. I'm going to go get a PhD in solving unsolved mysteries. Yeah, that just... I don't know. It was just a little weird to me. Anyway.
It is.
The first two bodies, those of, there were two bodies. I'm not going to try to pronounce these names again. They were shoeless and dressed only in their underwear. The branches on the trees above were broken about 5 meters up, basically suggesting that somebody had tried to climb up, maybe to try and find their way, like see where the campsite was at, Between the tree and the camp, they found 3 more corpses. All of those had died and poses suggesting they were trying to get back to the tent. And they were found separately at distances of 480 and 630 meters, or 980, 1570, and 2070 feet. That's a hell of a long way to run in a blizzard.
Yeah.
Barefoot. As you'll see here in a bit when I get to theories, but most of them died of hypothermia. That's not the mysterious part. We're about to get into the real shitty weird part. It took them 2 more months to find the last 4 people. They were finally found on May 4th under about 13 feet of snow in a ravine about 250 feet further into the woods from where they had found the pine tree. And 3 of those 4 were better dressed than the others.
Like in tuxes, or?
That's exactly what I thought. It was exactly what I thought, too. Okay, so typically what I do is I copy paste the Wikipedia page and then just go through and delete things that aren't relevant. And so I was reading this and I was like, so did they bring what's, and then I realized it meant they have more clothes on.
They still weren't, I do know this part, they still weren't dressed as
right.
They should have been.
They weren't dressed.
They were like
for the
wearing
weather.
Jeans and
Right.
shirt. And...
They weren't dressed for the weather. They just had on more clothes than the others, which suggested that the other 2 died first, and then they took the clothes from them after they died. But still, it was just such a funny thought.
Screw you guys! I'm taking your clothes.
I seriously spent way too long looking at that sentence and going, why the hell would they were they just wearing really nice pearl snaps and tux pants, dress shoes, and then it finally hit me that I was being stupid. But yeah, so they were better dressed than the others, and one of them was wearing another one's burned, torn trousers. How'd they get burned? Probably from the fire that we don't know how they started. And her left foot and shin were wrapped in a torn jacket. Now what's weird is that there was nobody else on the mountain when all this happened. Like I said, the tent was ripped open from the inside, which probably suggested, because I know something that goes with thermia is hypothermia.
Thermia.
Something that goes with hypothermia is you kind of go crazy, not thinking straight. Everyone died within 6 to 8 hours after their last meal, so it wasn't like they starved to death. All the parties left the campsite of their own accord on foot, as in there was no evidence that they had been dragged away or anything. There were high levels of radiation on one of the people's clothes, and they don't know why. And then 6 of them died of hypothermia, like I said. Now, all 4 bodies that were found at the bottom of the creek in this running stream of water had soft tissue damage to their head and face. For example, one of them was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips, as well as facial tissue and a fragment of her skull bone. Another one was missing only his eyeballs, and one of them was missing his eyebrows. I don't know if that means he was missing the hair on his eyebrows or if like the skin on his eyebrows was missing.
Sounds to me like hair, possibly, but
Which begs the question, like one of them was the jacket was burned, maybe burned him off trying to start a fire.
oh, that's true.
Or maybe birds came and like plucked his eyebrows for nests.
I may have done that a time or two.
An examination of the 4 bodies, which were found in May, shifted the narrative as to what had occurred during the incident because 3 of them had fatal injuries. Like one had skull damage, one had chest fractures. But according to Boris Vazrazdeny, who examined them, the force that was required to cause such damage would have been so high, like comparable to a car crash. But they had no external wounds. This is why this is weird, because they've got this internal damage that should have, like, they didn't even have any bruises or anything. Now the main theory is that there was an avalanche, but there were no signs of an avalanche in the area. Like, people have investigated this. There have been over 100 expeditions since then, and none have reported any kind of avalanche conditions. They were all pretty much experienced skiers, and they wouldn't camp anywhere in the path of a possible avalanche. If there had been an avalanche, it would have bypassed the tent, which might explain why, if there was an avalanche coming, maybe they ran away from the tent because it was going to hit it, but it would have bypassed the tent, and they would have known that. And the footprints dictate that they were not running from an avalanche. So that's the mystery, is how did these people die with the internal wounds? Another theory is military weapon testing, but that's been debunked. Kind of. I mean, the government said there was no military weapon testing going on there. That was mainly due to the radiation. People thought maybe they were setting off bombs or something. Another theory was that they were attacked by the Mansi or other local tribes, but these tribes are peaceful, and again, there was no sign of any attack. And another one was that they were attacked by animals, but there were no animal tracks in the area, which there would have been. I think most people agree that, like, the eyeball's missing and stuff. And go ahead. I'll wait.
Okay, Mr. Gord.
Most people agree that, like, the eyeballs missing and shit was probably birds, like scavenger birds and shit. But so before we solve this, thoughts. What are you guys thinking?
I think I already know the answer.
Okay, well, hold off, bud.
I think crazy shit.
I mean, we all think crazy shit from time to time. What specifically are you thinking about?
Just the whole, no bruises, but yet all the damage done. That's the weird stuff. I don't know. It's kind of almost signs of a party gone bad.
You think so? What kind of party?
I like to party.
So do the Vega boys. We like to party.
Like, it was what, the 50s?
Late 50s is
Late 50s?
1959.
Okay. 59. Not 69. 59.
10 years away from 69.
59. LSD.
Pot, booze, drugs.
Yeah,
Bread.
Well,
Box of bread.
yeah.
Have you guys ever seen Weeds?
And I was just getting ready to say, and weed.
Have you, like the show Weeds where she was selling?
I've seen bits and pieces.
There's a part where she's selling weed in the, like, people come in and buy a sandwich, and inside the sandwich, based on what they buy, is a type of marijuana that corresponds to it, and they just wrap it up in a baggie and seal it, and they put it in the sandwich, and, like, that's how they sell weed, is openly through a sandwich shop. Now, they bought bread. There was weed in the bread. Maybe bread was code for. See, that's kind of what I was thinking, is like maybe they got some LSD or some shrooms or something, but it still doesn't explain the injuries. Or how they started a fire.
Now the fire, that is kind of odd. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, they left everything except some of their clothes. So they didn't have like a flint and steel. And all of the wood would have been wet because it's, it's covered in snow.
Okay, but here's the thing. For the fire, did they discover all the clothes that they took with them? All the clothes that they were wearing?
I don't remember that part. Like, I don't remember if they did or not. Just said that they didn't take anything with them. So maybe they did burn their clothes. Maybe that's why the jacket was burnt, was because they started to burn it. And she's like, F that, I want that jacket.
It's still on me. Stop.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Well, regardless, Jake thinks that he's got it figured out.
Yes, I do.
All right. Lay it on us.
It was that bitch Carol Baskin.
I didn't know you were going to say that, but I knew you were going to say something.
No, actually, I really think it was Joe Exotic.
Were either of them alive at the time?
Oh, yeah, they traveled back in time. It's all good. Damn.
Yeah, she did get rid of her husband.
So,
We've come up with some really weird explanations on this show, but that one, I don't know if that tracks. Like, why would they go to, if you're being, okay, so like this is a dead serious question about this. I know why would they specifically go back in time just to fuck with these Russian kids?
why not?
That's not an answer to my question.
Carol said she didn't kill her husband. He said she did. And they decided.
The husband said she did.
Joe.
Carol said she didn't kill her husband. Her husband said she did. How do we know? We talked to his ghost.
Joe said she did. They met up. They were going to have it out. And Carol said, wait.
And then they fell into a time vortex.
I know how we can go back and settle this. So they went back in time.
How does that settle anything?
It just
No,
does.
it's Jake's theory.
I think what happened.
That's just my answer for everything.
What, that bitch Carol Baskin?
Pretty much.
Well, what's your theory?
Okay, so here's what happened. Kind of what you were saying with, the show Weeds. And she would, they would hide weed in the bread. And well, they didn't do that. They didn't hide weed in there.
So it's kind of like that, except it's completely different because they didn't do that at all. What actually happened is, why even bring it up?
So
Useless to me. You and your explanation.
So here's what happened. The bread was baked, but it wasn't baked all the way.
Okay.
So therefore, have you ever heard of those stories of, there was a story of this town that people started killing themselves, and back in the, I don't remember, 1800s or early 1900s, the baker had undercooked the bread or something, and it caused like an LSD trip.
I vaguely remember hearing about this, yeah.
And so I think that's what happened. I know that's what happened. The bread was undercooked, caused an LSD trip, and that LSD trip caused a wild, crazy night, partying, and they don't even know they're partying because it's an LSD trip,
Where was I at? Sounds like a good time.
I feel like they may not know that they're tripping on LSD, but I feel like they'd know they were partying.
Maybe.
I mean, even when I've been my most drunk, I know that I'm at a party drinking.
Well, because you got there and you weren't drunk yet, so,
Okay, whatever.
Anyways.
Continue.
But they had a wild and crazy night. The fractured ribs or broke ribs, whatever, that is unexplainable.
I can
except
explain
for
that.
one thing.
I can explain it, but go ahead.
Aliens.
What had happened was the LSD thing. I'm with you on that. I thought maybe they brought some with them, but I feel like they would have found it in their system.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
Well, and the other thing is it was 6 to 8 hours after they had ate. Mm-hmm. So they ate the bread, LSD trip.
The fractures and shit can be explained because the three that had the internal, they had recently binge watched. You're gonna have to stick with me on this one because it's a little out there. They had recently been binge watching old episodes of WWE or WWF. It'd be WWF.
Yeah, WWF back then.
And one of them went around giving the people's elbow before The Rock was even he stole that. He heard about this and stole it from them.
All right, I'm with you.
Right. Finally, Yuri has come back.
I got you.
To the Ural Mountains. It just jumps off a ledge and just bam, right in the chest.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So they had a wrestling match and then they all died because, internal injuries.
That would explain the eye missing too.
I still think that the missing body parts was just birds.
That was Captain Insano. He shows no mercy.
I'm pretty sure that the missing body parts was just scavenger birds after they died.
But there was no trace of animals.
A bird's not going to leave tracks in the snow if they land on the body and pluck the eye out because there's no snow to leave tracks.
Well, maybe they don't want to land on the body. Maybe they want to land in the snow.
Well, then there would be tracks. But it makes sense that there wouldn't be tracks.
The birds covered it up.
Oh, my God.
Fucking birds.
They were trying to get their batteries changed, but COVID hadn't been announced yet. Regardless, I think we got a solution here, guys. I know we've got a solution here, guys.
I know mine's right.
So, as Logan and I have expertly deduced, not Jake.
Bullshit.
They had underbaked bread, went on an LSD trip, decided they were going to try some wrestling moves on each other. Most of them died of hypothermia. I mean, that's pretty simple. But I think we got it. You guys got a demo coming soon?
So Logan.
Hopefully we got a demo coming soon. With all this crap going on, we've been kind of slow going with it, but starting to work on that, working on some other projects with the band. But you can go and like us at, Chad, you remember what it is? Project Revolution Band at Facebook?
Mm-hmm. I'm on Facebook at Project Revolution Band. I believe the email is projectrevolution.band@gmail.com.
With or without the dot? I don't remember.
It is with the dot.
Okay.
So if you guys want to stick around after the outro, I'll be playing. I'll put a chorus of one of the songs in there. If you want to listen to the full demo, it does have me in it, and they are changing that up since I'm not in the band anymore. But if you want to listen to, what they kind of sound like, just search for Project Revolution on SoundCloud. You'll know it's them because they've got the logo kind of looks like an old aviator logo with the letters PR on it.
And if you do want to keep up to date with what we're doing, Facebook, of course, but also we do have a YouTube channel now, just Project Revolution. We're starting a new project with the band, and we're posting videos on that. So
in the meantime, as usual, if you guys want to send in a suggestion for a mystery that you think needs solving, you can do that with an email to mysteriessolvedpodcast, all one word, @gmail.com. Or you can find us on Facebook at Unsolved Mysteries Solved, or you can find us on Twitter at UMS_podcast. Finally got the handle changed to something that's a little more fitting than Solved Podcast because I'm an idiot. I'm always tweeting out and whatnot. So,
or if you just want to message in and tell us that we suck.
Email if you want to tell us that we suck. Send us death threats.
Text, whatever.
Not text. I'm not giving anybody my phone number.
I'll give it out. Hang on. Here, let me pull it up real quick.
And in the meantime, as usual, don't question us or you will be put down. With that, thanks for listening, guys, and thanks to Jake and Logan of Project Revolution for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Shut up, guys. This is why I don't do these things in person.
Burn the candle at the flame. It's all the same. Candle at the flame. Oh.